My mind is calm, for my fortune is not my felicity. I know I have clean hands and a clean heart, and I hope a clean house for friends or servants, but Job himself, or whoever was the justest judge, by such hunting for matters against him as hath been used against me, may for a time seem foul, especially in a time when greatness is the mark and accusation is the game. Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon 1561–1626 was an English philosopher, statesman, and writer who profoundly influenced the development of modern scientific thought. He is best known for advocating a new scientific method that emphasized empiricism and inductive reasoning. Bacon argued that true knowledge should be derived from careful observation and experimentation, rather than solely relying on tradition, authority, or abstract deductive reasoning as was common in Aristotelian and scholastic philosophy of his time. His seminal works, such as Novum Organum and The Advancement of Learning, laid the groundwork for what would become the modern scientific method, promoting a systematic approach to gathering data and testing hypotheses. He also famously described idols of the mind, biases and errors that hinder human understanding, including idols of the marketplace which arise from the imprecise nature of language. Francis Bacon's early life was marked by a privileged family background and a precocious intellect. Born on January 22, 1561, at York House in London, he was the younger of two sons of Sir Nicholas Bacon, the Lord Keeper of the Great Seal under Queen Elizabeth I, and his second wife, Lady Anne Cook Bacon. His mother was a learned woman, proficient in several languages, and her sister was married to William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, a highly influential figure as Queen Elizabeth's chief minister. This familial connection placed Francis Bacon at the heart of English political and intellectual life from a very young age. Due to his often poor health, Bacon was largely educated at home in his early years by private tutors. He then entered Trinity College, Cambridge, in April 1573 at the remarkably young age of 12, completing his studies there by December 1575. It was at Cambridge that he first developed his critical stance against the prevailing Aristotelian and scholastic philosophies, finding them unfruitful. In 1576, he began studying law at Gray's Inn, one of London's Inns of Court. However, he interrupted his legal education to serve in France as part of the English ambassador's entourage. This diplomatic experience provided him with valuable insights into European government and society. His time abroad was cut short in 1579 by the unexpected death of his father, which left him with a meager inheritance and insignificant debt. This financial precarity would largely persist throughout his early career, pushing him to seek advancement in law and politics. He resumed his legal studies, was called to the bar in 1582, and began his long political career as a member of Parliament in 1584, marking the end of his formal education and the beginning of his public life. Essays, or Counsels, Civil and Moral, first published 1597, with enlarged editions in 1612 and 1625, represent a different facet of Bacon's literary and intellectual output. These are concise, aphoristic pieces offering profound insights into a wide array of practical, ethical, and political subjects. Unlike his systematic philosophical treatises, the essays showcase Bacon's acute observations on human behavior, morality, ambition, power, and the intricacies of social and political life. Renowned for their succinctness, elegance, and rhetorical power, they reveal Bacon as a shrewd commentator on the human condition, offering timeless wisdom and practical advice that resonate far beyond his own era. The Advancement of Learning 1605 is Francis Bacon's foundational work outlining his vision for the reform of knowledge. Written in English and dedicated to King James I, it serves as a comprehensive survey of the intellectual landscape of his time, systematically reviewing the various branches of human learning. Bacon meticulously identified areas where knowledge was deficient, incomplete, or based on flawed methodologies, particularly criticizing the unproductive nature of scholastic philosophy. More importantly, the book articulated his ambitious program for a universal renovation of the sciences, advocating for a shift towards an empirical and inductive approach grounded in observation and experimentation, thereby laying the philosophical groundwork for what would become the modern scientific method. The Great Instauration, begun c. 1607, unfinished, represents Francis Bacon's monumental and overarching philosophical project, a grand design for the complete restructuring and renewal of all human knowledge. Though never fully completed, it served as the conceptual framework for his numerous writings on scientific reform. Bacon envisioned this multi-part work as guiding humanity from its current state of intellectual stagnation to a new era of fruitful discovery based on a sound, empirical methodology. The advancement of learning 1605 effectively served as the first part, surveying and classifying the existing state of knowledge, while Novum Organum 1620 was the pivotal second part, outlining his revolutionary new inductive method for acquiring knowledge. While he produced other works intended for its later sections, such as Sylva's Sylvarum for its natural history component, The Great Instauration remains a testament to Bacon's vast intellectual ambition and his enduring vision for the systematic advancement of science. Novum Organum Scientiarum 1620, Latin for new instrument, is arguably Bacon's most significant philosophical work and the cornerstone of his scientific method. It serves as the crucial second part of his grand, unfinished project, The Great Instauration. In this work, Bacon directly challenged the prevailing Aristotelian deductive logic, proposing instead a new system based on inductive reasoning derived from rigorous observation and experimentation. He meticulously detailed the steps for gathering empirical data, interpreting it, and formulating general principles, thereby laying the conceptual framework for modern scientific inquiry. A key aspect of Novum Organum is Bacon's famous exposition of the idols of the mind, idols of the tribe, cave, marketplace, and theater, which he identified as inherent human biases and errors that impede objective understanding and must be systematically recognized and overcome for true scientific progress. History of the Reign of King Henry VII 1622. This historical work showcases Bacon's skills as a historian and political analyst, rather than a pure philosopher. Written for Prince Charles, the future King Charles I, it provides a detailed account of the reign of Henry VII, the founder of the Tudor dynasty. Bacon meticulously examines Henry's rise to power, his consolidation of the monarchy, his shrewd diplomatic strategies, and his economic policies. The work is notable for its insightful character analysis and its exploration of the complex interplay between politics, law, and power, reflecting Bacon's own extensive experience in governance and his understanding of the practicalities of statecraft. De Augmentis Scientiarum 1623, this Latin title translates to On the Dignity and Advancement of Learning and represents a significantly expanded and revised version of his earlier English work, The Advancement of Learning. Published a few years after his fall from political power, Bacon meticulously refined and elaborated upon his original survey of human knowledge. It contains much more detailed classifications of the various branches of the sciences and provides a more thorough and systematic articulation of his grand project for scientific reform, further emphasizing the need for empirical observation and inductive reasoning as the foundation for all genuine knowledge. Francis Bacon died on April 9, 1626, reportedly from complications arising from an experiment he conducted on the effects of freezing. While traveling, he is said to have stopped his carriage to stuff a fowl with snow, intending to observe the preservative effects of cold, and contracted a fatal chill. This incident, whether entirely accurate or somewhat embellished, serves as a fitting, albeit tragic, anecdote reflecting his lifelong dedication to empirical observation and scientific inquiry. Silva Silvarum, or A Natural History, published posthumously in 1627, this voluminous collection serves as a testament to Bacon's hands-on commitment to empirical investigation, containing a vast array of observations, experiments, and reflections on diverse natural phenomena. Rather than presenting a structured theoretical framework, it compiles numerous curious facts, proposed experiments, and speculative explanations across various fields like medicine, meteorology, acoustics, and the properties of matter. Though some of its contents might seem unscientific by modern standards, Silva Silvarum powerfully demonstrates Bacon's belief in the necessity of gathering a comprehensive body of empirical data as the raw material for scientific generalization, embodying his inductive method in practice. New Atlantis, published posthumously in 1627, this unfinished utopian novel offers a compelling glimpse into Bacon's vision for a society fundamentally organized around scientific inquiry and technological advancement. It describes the fictional island nation of Bensalem, a self-sufficient and prosperous society whose well-being is directly attributed to the work of Salomon's house. This institution, a kind of advanced research college, is depicted as a collective dedicated to the systematic acquisition of knowledge about the natural world through experimentation, invention, and the practical application of scientific discoveries for the benefit of humanity. New Atlantis is significant for its prophetic anticipation of modern scientific institutions and its articulation of the societal value and potential of organized scientific research. Bacon has been accused of servility, of dissimulation, of various base motives, and their filthy brood of base actions, all unworthy of his high birth, and incompatible with his great wisdom, and the estimation in which he was held by the noblest spirits of the age. It is true that there were men in his own time, and will be men in all times, who are better pleased to count spots in the sun than to rejoice in its glorious brightness. Such men have openly libeled him, like Dews and Weldon, whose falsehoods were detected as soon as uttered, or have fastened upon certain ceremonious compliments and dedications, the fashion of his day, as a sample of his servility, passing over his noble letters to the Queen, his lofty contempt for the Lord Keeper Puckering, his open dealing with Sir Robert Cecil, and with others, who, powerful when he was nothing, might have blighted his opening fortunes forever, forgetting his advocacy of the rights of the people in the face of the court, and the true and honest counsels, always given by him, in times of great difficulty, both to Elizabeth and her successor. When was a base sycophant loved and honored by piety such as that of Herbert, Tennyson, and Raleigh, by noble spirits like Hobbes, Ben Jonson, and Selden, or followed to the grave, and beyond it, with devoted affection such as that of Sir Thomas Meudes? Basil Montague. References: Peltonen, Marco 2007-2004. Bacon, Francis, Viscount St. Alban 1561-1626. Oxford Dictionary of National Biography Online ed. Oxford University Press. doi 10.1093 ref od 990. Adamson, Robert, Mitchell, John Malcolm 1911. Bacon, Francis. Encyclopaedia Britannica, Volume 3 11th ed. Pages 135 to 152. Spedding, James, Ellis, Robert Leslie, Heath, Douglas Denon 1857 to 1874. The Works of Francis Bacon, Baron of Verulam, Viscount St. Albans and Lord High Chancellor of England, 15 volumes. London. Klein, Jurgen 2012. Francis Bacon. Inzaltat, Edward N. ed. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy Winter 2016 ed. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Farrington, Benjamin 1964. The Philosophy of Francis Bacon. University of Chicago Press. Jardine, Lisa 1986. Francis Bacon, Discovery and the Art of Discourse. Cambridge University Press. Zagarin, Perez 1999. Francis Bacon. Princeton University Press. ISBN 978-0-691-00966-7. Josephson Storm, Jason 2017. The Myth of Disenchantment, Magic, Modernity, and the Birth of the Human Sciences. University of Chicago Press. ISBN 978-0-226-40336-6.